All right, everyone, welcome back to another interview with the Lead Training Series. We have an amazing guest on for us today, Stephanie, but as you guys know, I don't want to introduce you in a way that you don't want to be introduced, so I will let you introduce yourself here.
Hi, my name is Stephanie James, and I'm with American Senior Benefits up in Michigan. I have an office in Okemos and one in Detroit. I have 21 agents that run in the field with me. And I've had this office for about 4 years. And before that, I've been in the industry almost 11 years now, came from another industry. They took them about 2 years to finally recruit me over here. And I finally said yes. So, and it's been growing great since. Wish I would have done it sooner, but
That's one thing. That's like the first thing that people say is, "I wish I would have started sooner." Especially people who are transitioning careers. Just for the viewers to know, are you focusing more on Medicare or final expense?
So it depends on the time of year. So we obviously during annual enrollment period from October to December, we do a lot of Medicare. Then we have open enrollment for Medicare, which is January till March. This time of year, we really focus on final expense. Mm-hmm. Final expense is, because Medicare season kind of dies down, but final expense is sort of our way back in October too. And it's a great way, especially when you're building an office, for new agents to get them paid and get them paid quickly, is to teach them final expense and get them running final expense. And it's easier to teach than Medicare.
I agree. And it's a little less intimidating up front.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're in the field, especially for new agents, it's pretty cut and dry. Now, there's obviously always hard work that goes into it. One of the first questions I like to ask, because I'm curious, especially with someone like you that has a lot of experience, at what point did you decide in your business, did you start incorporating purchasing leads on a consistent basis into your business model?
So I think I've always worked with leads, but not here in the beginning. It was kind of, we would get leads here and there. I had agents on the phone calling prospects all day long. 8 hours on the phone per day is really hard on a new agent. And especially, you're telling them to call 200 numbers. They're getting hangups. They're not getting any answers. And if you want to drive somebody out of this industry, do that, because they'll be here about a week. So we started, took me about 3 years going through and trying to find a lead source that actually was what it said it was. And, not just a bunch of just bad numbers, and working with companies that they would promise this, but it wasn't what it was. And about 2 months ago, we've been kind of talking with other people in my region and came upon you guys, and I decided to buy them. And the first week I thought, well, I'm going to try these out on my own, see if they work. Mm-hmm. And I set 8 appointments out of the 20 leads that I bought.
Wow.
Yep. Sold 4 of them that week, sold the other 3 the next week. And then I was like, okay, we're doing this. This is great.
Right. And just so other people don't you have a lot of experience, and not everybody can expect that great of success right off the bat.
No, right. That is true. So I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. You got a lot of experience. That's very, very good conversion. I think it's cool to see that because as we talked about before this started, a lead at the end of the day is a lead, but there's a very, very clear difference between a high intent quality lead and just a name and a number that gets sent to you. I think that when you talk to somebody, that when you call them and they're not shocked that you're calling, and even more so, they kind of know relatively why you're calling, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, I know exactly, I expected this 5 minutes ago. It's not going to be like in a perfect world, but to have them roughly know why you're calling and not be so thrown off is definitely a huge plus. Now, something I talk about in some of the other interviews that I'm curious to ask you, because you have a lot of experience, especially in this field. One of the most important things from my perspective, especially growing the agency on my side, and what I think really helps quantify success to really drive where you're going to put your marketing dollars when purchasing leads, is the metrics that you track. For me personally, I think that your cost per lead, your cost per acquisition, and the lifetime value of your clients, if you have a sufficient amount of data to track those 3 metrics, you can really control a big portion of your business. Do you find value in tracking metrics? And if so, what kind of business model are you guys doing when it comes to that?
So I'm a huge numbers person. I like to track everything. And like with these, I just have a spreadsheet running alongside the CRM that we use through American Senior Benefits. And then I'm just tracking, basically I figure out how much is it going to be before I've made my money back. Then I figure out, okay, so per agent, how much is each agent making, like on average, off of each one of these leads? Plus, then I factor in the fact that they're going back in October to write Medicare off of this lead. Plus, we have programs that run with getting referrals out of these houses. So when you add all of that together, how much is this lead actually worth? So a $23 lead could easily be worth $5,000 to me. Well, if you go in and you find an annuity in that house, now you've just added more value. We use a legacy safeguard program that has referrals. It's literally the final expense to be able to get referrals. Well, if you get 3 referrals out of that house, that's potentially another, $3,000 in life insurance annual premium that would be coming in. So that's kind of how I track these things. And then I just have my agents come in. They'll be like, all right, this is the lead that I got. What happened with the lead? How much did they sell? Did you get referrals out of that house? What else happened within that house? And we just keep tracking it. And again, I've only been doing this one for 2 months, so I'll have to wait until like the end of the quarter to see how much we've actually built up and made.
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up. The time frame. A lot of people, and it's one of these things that drives me crazy. But I have to watch what I say as to not sound too salesman-y. But you can't just place one lead order and base your entire future with a vendor or with your business model off of one lead order. You need to have a sufficient amount of data to look back. I don't believe in a bad batch of leads. You can have an off day, you can have an off week, but like I mentioned, leads are leads. And of course, we're going to focus on driving the quality of our leads up. But what do you think is, for somebody testing out a new vendor, whether it's us or we always recommend people have at least 2 to 3 vendors that they're buying from.
Yep.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Especially for new agents, because that's a lot of the demographic that watches these. What do you think is their best bet in terms of, we know that, of course, some people are like only referrals, only warm market, only leads. We know that a healthy mix of the bunch is always going to be the best. But for new agents out there coming into this, the lead industry can be so overwhelming because you have everybody saying their leads are the best. What do you think is a good kind of game plan or a solid roadmap for a new agent coming in? How should they tackle this whole lead business? Should they be spending all of their money on leads? Should they be spending a portion? Who should they go to? Just like a little bit of a synopsis from your perspective.
So I think the biggest thing, and this is what I always teach my agents too, is like you were saying, right? A lead is really just a phone number, right? So it's what you're going to do with that. And if you're going to put all of your money into selling leads, you're going to fail out of this business, or buying leads, you're going to fail out of this business. You have to do grassroots marketing. You have to do seminars. It's a whole mix. It's a mix of all different things, your warm market, your referrals. And as a new agent, you really have to concentrate on like that one lead. One of the things is too, is you might call that lead and that lead doesn't answer the phone. So automatically you think it's a bad lead.
Right.
Exactly. You're going to need to door knock it. You're going to need to text them. You can email them. You can send them something in the mail. And it's all about, continuing to go after that lead. It takes 6 touches typically to be able to make that sale. And we luck out a lot of times because we might get that person and it might be their 4th or 5th touch because they've got other people that have been getting a hold of them. And we just happen to be that lucky person that day that caught them on a good day.
Right.
But you don't, again, leads are great, but a lot of times people think that leads, they're like, oh, this is the end all be all. This is the best source ever. Like somehow people are going to start like pulling up in my parking lot and just lining up to buy life insurance because that's not how this industry works. So even if it's a lead, a lead can be just as good as a prospect, or a prospect can be just as good as a lead. And you just have to kind of take it as, I'm going to call it, I'm going to work it. A lead is only dead when either the person has died or you've sold it. Right. So, and when it comes to life insurance, if they're not buying it from you, they're buying it from somebody else.
Exactly.
So I don't know if that completely answered your question, but yeah, for new agents, it really is, it's a big mix of things. And if you put too much in one basket, like I'm just going to do leads, you're never going to make it in this industry.
Right.
So
I think that's crucial because, of course, most IMOs or agencies are going to always be trying to gear their new agents towards what they personally believe is the best, but we know that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You need to collect referrals, or you need to purchase leads, you need to collect referrals. You can you can work your warm market, but you're not going to build a 7-figure agency off of your friends and family. It's just not going to work. So I think that's definitely worth noting. Also, I think the quality of the lead is important. So like we mentioned before this conversation, we are stand behind our leads, meaning if you get a lead with a disconnected number or a fake address, we're going to replace that lead for you. There's a lot of vendors out there, and I say that not to make ourselves look good, but to make sure you're keeping an eye on new agents who are maybe spending $1,000 a week on leads. If you're buying from a vendor that offers no returns and is just saying all sales are final, you take it, you bought it, you keep it. If you get 20% of those leads that are either bad numbers, disconnected numbers, fake addresses, people that, something in there is fake, a lot of these new agents, they can't afford $200-$300 a week of wasted lead cost. So I think that's really important to keep in mind as an agent, is not just the lead you're buying, but what are the return policies? How are these leads being generated? You need to take ownership of your business. Now, do you specifically have an ROI that you look for? Like off of, if you buy a batch of 20 leads, how much premium are you looking to write from those? How do you guys weigh
So I guess it kind of depends, because am I doing a shared lead? Am I doing an exclusive lead? So if I'm spending, like with the exclusive leads here, I'm spending $23 per lead on an exclusive lead. I would expect that in a batch of 20, if I or my agents sell 4 of those, I've more than made my money back, right? Mm-hmm. And then I consider too, I now own those leads. So now those leads are going to go into Medicare season. So maybe we didn't get a hold of them now, but we're going to get a hold of them in Medicare season. I think having the security question on there is very vital. Like it makes us a better point of contact. When we call and we say that security answer, people know that it's us. They may not want our help now. They may need our help in the future. We have had a few people that were like, yeah, I clicked that, but I don't need it, or, whatever, but that's fine. We can look at them to the future. So I'm not discounting that as a lead that in the future is going to be something. So to me, any name and number that we know is a real person, that we know is somebody that at one point clicked on that and wanted information, that to me is a sale. Like at some point that's going to be a sale. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. So it's kind of hard to measure that matrix as to how much do I think I'm going to make off this? Because I think overall, just being able to have quality leads that we know that people were actively looking at one point for something, that's a quality lead. And that's what we've been seeing from you guys. And I think it's great because even again, if they don't want to do life insurance right this minute, people's lives change every day. Someone in their family dies, and now all of a sudden they realize that they need life insurance. So just keeping up with these, calling them in the future, being like, a few months back, I had called you and you weren't interested then, but they might be interested now. People's lives change every day. Definitely.
Yeah. And especially, I like how you mentioned, a lot of agents will think working the lead means you call them once, they say, I'm interested. Okay, that I've worked that lead, now I'm done. That lead, what I used to tell my agents, especially early on, was work this lead until either A, you've sold the policy, or B, they've told you like never, ever, ever call this number again, and they block you. Right. Yep. Because you paid for that lead. This is going to determine the success of your business. So especially with, it's a shared lead and exclusive lead. A lot of people will think, oh, well, I'm just buying lead. When you're buying an exclusive lead, you have that lead. That's your lead to work. You have a month or, the first 30 days, that lead is just for you. When you're buying shared leads, yeah, our shared leads are $8 per lead, but you're not getting less quality. You're giving yourself less opportunity, because just like you said, you can have somebody come in there tomorrow that bought that same lead as you. And if they just happen to get there at the right time, it's not that the lead was bad or you purchased the wrong lead at the wrong time. You just have to make sure that when you're buying leads, you know what you're buying, when you're buying it, and you will have more importantly, a game plan that if I'm buying leads on Monday, I'm not waiting until Thursday to call them.
Correct. Exactly. Especially shared leads. Well, and I went through one batch of shared leads with you guys and found out right away, like the third phone call I made, the person had bought insurance yesterday.
Yep. So yeah, that's why it's a lot of the dialers that, we always recommend optimizing, especially with technology. It can be very, very hard for a new agent with a cell phone and a pen and paper to compete with a veteran agent who has a dialer who's calling, 3 leads at once. The first person answers and hangs up. So some of our partners have, from the time that lead hits their inbox, they have that client on the phone within 7 seconds. So, some of our high performing partners, their speed to contact, which is arguably the most important metric when it comes to converting leads, is, you know, the speed that you get the lead versus when you contact them. If you're competing with someone who has a 7 to 10 second window from when that lead hits their inbox to you getting them on the phone, you don't have 96 hours to wait. You can't wait 4 days to buy these to call these leads. So I think having a plan of action after you've kind of done some research on the leads is definitely important. Now, when it comes to your agents being in the field, I'm always curious, are you guys heavily working face-to-face? Are you doing telesales or face-to-face?
Yep.
Okay.
I think it's really important. And especially after COVID, it was really nice to get back out face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a few agents that, I mean, we can now, obviously, we can sell over the phone and we will sell over the phone. But I think that there's so much more to sitting face-to-face with somebody. There's more of a connection. And as people know, if you have more than one policy in a house, you're not going to lose that house. And it's a lot easier to sit face-to-face and sell multiple policies in a house and then be able to get back in later for other things than doing it over the phone. So
yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I also think it's really important to note that an agent's fear of rejection will be one of the primary reasons that they fail out of the business, meaning you have to be willing to go out there and just literally knock on wooden doors.
Yes.
You have to buy leads, go to their house and knock on the door. I know it's so scary, but for new agents watching, we can both attest to this. If you are knocking on doors from leads you are buying, you are going to fall into success.
You will. And it's harder for somebody to tell you to your face, like, get off my doorstep, than it is to hang up a phone on you. And I built my business door knocking.
Yeah, you just need them. You just need enough 3 to 5 minutes for them to remember why they submitted that request in the first place, and that deal is going to inevitably close itself. So those are all, I think, definitely one of my favorite interviews. I think talking to someone like you with as much experience as you have, it's very beneficial, especially for new agents, because, you know, as we know, a new agent, most of the fear they have is just fear of the unknown. They haven't called 300 people in a day before. They've never gotten hung up on. They've never gotten cussed out on the phone. They've never been told to leave somebody's house. But once these things happen to you, you realize it's just part of the business. And once you can dehumanize and realize it's not personal, the success can go, to the moon. So I always like to give everybody, first off, thank you for your time, but giving everybody who comes on here to do an interview an opportunity to kind of promote yourself. How can new agents, I think a lot of agents can find some benefit in being on a team like yours. How can they reach out to you? Where are you kind of located? Where's your demographic primarily? So you can take as long as you need to kind of explain that.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you. So again, my name is Stephanie James. I am with American Senior Benefits. We are in Southern Michigan. So I have an office in Lansing, Michigan. It's actually Okemos, Michigan, but it's Lansing suburbs. And then I have an office in Detroit. We run all of Southern Michigan. And I have a team, again, of 21 agents. We are growing. We grow slowly because we want to make sure that our agents get all of the training that they need. When they come on their first 6 weeks, they are literally attached to a trainer that's taking them into the field, teaching them how to make phone calls. We do classroom time where we're teaching them the ins and outs of Medicare, the ins and outs of life insurance, the final expense life insurance. Then we're going in the field with them. We're literally running all of our appointments in the field with them to help make them successful. Because I have a huge thing about if I hire someone on and I promise them that they're going to be able to do as well as I have in this career, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that they do. And if they fail out, I take that really personally. But yeah, and if you want to reach out to me, my telephone number is area code 616-610-1040. And my email address is sajames, that's S as in Stephanie, A James, at americanseniorbenefits.com. And
awesome. Yeah, I think those are great qualities. I mean, for any agent out there, not to drag this on, but to have your trainer be willing to go in the field with you and write business next to you and show you the ropes face to face in the field, like, you're bootstrapping, the amount of value that you will learn in 4 to 6 weeks could take you 6 to 12 months to learn on your own. So I think that's a huge benefit, especially for new agents. Definitely take advantage of that. So I definitely appreciate you joining us today, and thank you guys so much for your time. and we will catch you in the next one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.